Hi everyone, Madcarver here with Bear Wood Supply. I've unboxed my Marathon Micromotor model K35 and I'm going to go over that with you now. Let me just move you into position here. Alright, I think you can see. Alright, so let's start with the nitty-gritty. We have the main unit, and after the main unit we have the handset, and we have the pedal, and this pedal also comes with it, and we have accessories for the handset. So let's just put these accessories into context. This piece has a holder here that goes onto the back of your main unit, and there's a little nodule down here that stops the pen from falling further through, and that goes toward the bottom. So we just place this in here and you can see that it fits in place as such. So we'll come back to that in a bit. We know that the pedal has to hook in at some point, and it does, and it goes into the back of the unit right here, and this is labeled foot, so that fits in there. And also the handset has a connector with 3 prongs on it and a notifier right here with this little crimp that goes onto the front and hooks right in. This piece here is a rubber piece that allows you to place your handset in it so that, I guess, it just doesn't roll all over your bench. So that's good. And the unit itself comes with a spare collet, a reducing sleeve they call it, and so that's that. And what I mean by extra is that the handset also has a collet on it already. This is a steel safety plug. I suppose it's in there to keep everything safe as it's created and put in the box. So now let's go look at a few other things. Putting the handset aside and the pedal, let's look at the main unit. The main unit starts with these 3 buttons. Now, these 3 buttons are also labeled. One is power, one is forward and reverse, and one is hand or foot. So you'll just make those choices as necessary. So we also saw that the foot goes on the back. We have an LED here to show power is on or off, and we have a speed selector right here. So this control is what powers it on and off. Let's go ahead and power it on. You can see that the LED, or possibly you can see, but the LED is lit and it's green, so it shows the power is working. And that we also know that the speed selector, if placed on hand, which I'm going to change it to now, will work when you start rotating this selector. You can see and or hear that it's going on. And it goes up to 35 revolutions per minute. So that said, one thing I noticed initially is that when you want to use the pedal, the foot pedal, nothing happens. So by pressing this, when the speed dial is already reduced to 0, nothing happens. But if you change this to foot and then you move the selector up a bit, nothing happens until you press the pedal. And that's pretty cool. I like that. It seems to be normal, and it works pretty well. So now let's look at how to work with the handset. So the handset itself is very nicely formed. Just feels really good in your hand. It's really streamlined from a slightly larger back to a more narrow front, and it's just really comfortable. So that's really great. Now, to release this steel plug and pull it out, in addition to the collet, if that's what you'd like, what we need to do is use this center position here, and it moves a bit. So what we want to do is move it clockwise, and it's got a small stop point. So when we hit that stop point, we're just going to push through a little bit more, and it will release again. And then it does come to a complete stop. At that point, we can pull the collet out in addition to the plug. Now, this is something that's useful to me, probably other people as well, but if you're like me, you probably have bits that have thicker and more narrow shanks. And I've got a lot of thicker shanks and very few of these thinner ones. But the reducing sleeve, when attached to your more narrow shanks, are great because that allows you to put it back into the micro motor with the collet and the more narrow shank, and that will fit. And then you can just reverse what you did on the middle section, and it's just locked in now. It's so nice. Now let's move back to the hand position. You see how when it was on the pedal, on the foot pedal, and the rotation of the speed was up, waiting for you to push on the pedal, when you change it back to the hand, it just automatically goes on because it's already on up here. So we know that this works well. We're going to pull this out now. And by doing that, we have to push past that little stop point. We can now pull this out. We can also remove the reducing sleeve, which is just a collet. And now with our thicker bits, we just put this into the unit without a collet. And when we do that, we can close it again like before, and now it won't release. And again, it just works great. So I'm going to pull that out. And there's something I wanted to just throw a little caution on. So this goes 35 RPM, which is pretty fast. So what you're going to want to do is be careful how far out you set your tools. So if you're trying to get in someplace really narrow, but it's, far away from certain places, and so you need to stick this thing out really far, be really, really careful about how far you allow that to come out. For example, say you're out to here and you lock it in again. If you're really far out here and you turn this thing up really high, it's likely going to bend this shank. So let me show you what that looks like. It's kind of scary when it occurs, so try to be careful with not doing it. You see what's happened here? Now, this did not happen on this tool. This happened on a completely different tool, but I'm aware of the problem, so I just want you guys to be aware of it as well. I didn't break or anything, and it just kind of flew around, and it was off center, so it was fine. And this would probably be too, because this is quite tight, but it's something to consider. So now let's change it to another tool. What you see here are the accessories that I purchased separate from the Marathon micromotor. And I'd like to go over some of those with you now. First of all, we have a pretty well-known product here. This is a Mandrel with a rubber top that fits around this sanding band. And you use a screwdriver, a flathead of any type. This came with the Marathon, and it's probably for use on the Handset, but it's a flathead, so it works. And you open this band and it reduces the size of this rubber bit here. Then you can put it into the sanding band and then tighten it again. And when you tighten it again, it expands the rubber and holds the band in place just fine. And then you just use that up, pull it off, and put on another one. When you run out, you order more from Bearwood Supply. You're good to go. So a lot of us have seen that. In addition to that, I bought some of these, which are Bristle Discs. And this one particular one is a coarse one, and they sell the fine one as well. This is used on, removing debris mostly. This debris is a little thick in here. This is a roughing stage. It's an old carve I just never really had time to finish, so maybe someday in the future. Old piece of wood, and it was just scrap, so I figured let's play with it. Anyway, so you'd put this and it would spin and it would remove some of the fluff. And if you've worked with basswood, that means that when you use power tools on basswood to cut, it puts a lot of fluff on top and around edges. So you can use this to just get rid of all of that fluff, which is really, really, really convenient. So that's what this would be used for. Not at this stage, but at a cleaning stage sometime in detail. So this one for that. Additionally, I got a tapered bit. The shank is small, so it goes with the reducing sleeve. And it has a narrow tip here from high to low. And it has a slit along this side, which I just use to put in a piece of sandpaper, on cloth type of sandpaper, but I think you could use paper sandpaper as well. And when you put that in there, it just spins and spins and spins and just wears that out until you put in a new piece. And this could be very convenient for me as well. So that's very convenient. I like that. And then finally, one of the most important things that I got out of this order was this. Now, this is a specific type of mandrel and a specific sanding disc. Let me try to give you a little more view here. So this one is just a sanding disc. I think it's a fine one. But you can see that there's an eyelet here that's square. And this mandrel has a square top as well. So this is split down the center. And what you do is you line up this eyelet by pressing in and clicking this into place. It's hard because I'm not looking directly at it, but otherwise it would be super simple. So now that that's clicked into place, I can pretty much put it onto the handset, spin away, and use all of that sanding disc up. And when I'm done with it, I just click in again. You can see from here, I would just click, press in, and it pulls right off. And then I just reuse another one. This one is super convenient because, as you know, If you've used these discs before, the only other method that I was aware of at the time was to use this kind of top. So you use it up so very fast, and then you have to go back and unscrew this and pull it off the top and then put on another one and then screw it back on. So that can be pretty inconvenient. And not this one, I should say this one, where it's just the shank and just the screw on top of the tiny base to hold on the sandpaper, or in this case the bristle. So you pull this off, you put that one on, put it back on. So it's just use and constantly doing this rather than this super convenient method. So I'll probably never purchase another sanding disc that doesn't have that eyelet. Just fantastic. All right, so now let's try to use a few of these on a piece of wood. So what we're going to do is place the sanding disc inside the reducing sleeve. We do that by opening it. It's currently open. And we put this in here. Fantastic. Have it stick out a bit. I don't know. I think it might be meant to just go in there, but I'll have to play with that as I learn to play with this tool. We push it back. It's in nice and rigidly now. Play with it. A little bit of sanding on this and see what happens. I'm currently using the foot, so we move this into position, we put it up a bit, and then the pedal. Very nice. Fantastic. Let me show you guys. So it's working great. And you know how it works. It's just sandpaper. Okay, so that's nice. Off here, or we could have just left it on and pulled our foot off the pedal. A pedal is a new thing for me these days. I don't ever have had the use of a pedal in the past, so for me it's going to be a little bit of switching back and forth, just getting used to it. So anyway, we have now shown that. Let's go ahead and show the release of that, release of that. We can try this one as well. Same size, so we'll put that in, tighten it up, and then we'll try another part over here. Let's just play with it and see what happens. Okay, that works great. So I will try this with rougher sandpaper and more mild, and I will play with that. I think this might be best used in a place where you're trying to use it in a circular area or something of that nature, so that you can just get something in there and then clean out the inside. So this is very useful, at least for relief carving and for my work. Okay, so undo that, pull it out, and we've seen the bristle, or haven't we not seen the bristle? Okay, bristle. So right now this carving is in the roughing stage, so there's not a lot of fluff for me to take off, but I think you understand how that works. We'll release again, pull that out, and we'll try a sanding band. So this sanding band has a larger diameter shank, so we're going to need to pull out the reducing sleeve, and then we can just put this directly into the micromotor without a collet. Then we close it off, it's tight, nice. And now we can try this one as well. Somewhere that needs it, I guess. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. And the pedal again is so very convenient. So that's cool. And another thing that we can mention here is that the micromotor has some of these tops here, some of these holes here on top, just to help you store your more used pieces. So, you know, you just kind of fill this up with the ones that you use a lot. And that's pretty helpful, especially when you're changing constantly. All right, so for the most part, I've gone over the Marathon out of the box, all that it comes with, in addition to the use of the main piece, the connection and use of the handset, and also some of the bits that I've done, not to mention the foot pedal. The foot pedal is going to take some getting used to for me because I've never had one before, but I already really like it. So that's just another great benefit for me. All right, guys. So if there are any questions on this video, feel free to let me know, and I'll be helping you as much as I can moving forward. Thanks.